Hey everybody, so welcome back. So for today's project, we are be working on the Cruze. This is a 2013 Eco 1.4 turbo, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be painting the front calipers red. This car has drum brakes in the back, so we're not going to be touching the rears. All we're going to be doing is the fronts. So let's take a walk over to the bench, and I'll show you what I bought, and then we'll review that, and then we'll look at the supplies and tools that you're going to need to do this project. So let's go do that now.
Alright guys, so this is what you're going to need for the project. So what I did is I bought the Rust-Oleum caliper kit, and in the box you get the cleaner, the paint, some masking tape, an acid brush, a stir stick, and you're also going to need some wire brushes, some sandpaper, and you're going to need some newspaper and some aluminum foil. I'm going to show you what you're going to need that for once we get into the process. So when you do this type of thing, you have two options. You can either buy an aerosol spray can and go at it like that, or you can buy this, which is essentially it's a brush-on type of paint. So when you do the aerosol spray type, really what they want you to do is they want you to remove the caliper from the wheel and separate it from the brake line and have it and paint on the bench. I really don't want to do that. I don't want to go through the process of bleeding the brakes and everything else. So what I've opted to do is to use the brush-on style and go from there. So with that being said, why don't we go ahead to the car and take off the wheel, jack it up, and let's get started. Alright, so the first thing you're going to need to do is set your parking brake, because what we're going to do is we're going to jack up the car and we're going to put it up on stands, and once the front wheels are off the ground, the only thing that's going to be holding the car from rolling is the back wheels, and the back wheels will rotate by themselves, so make sure that you put the handbrake on. So just be aware that when you do this, the paint needs to cure for at least 24 hours before you go anywhere. So if you're going to do something like this, make sure you have a second vehicle, because once you put the paint on, you really can't go anywhere for at least a day. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and take the wheel off, and what you need is a 19mm socket and an impact wrench or a lug wrench or something like that. So why don't we go ahead and zip the wheel off right now. Alright, so now that you have the wheel removed, let's take a look at the actual brake assembly and essentially identify the components. Right. So essentially, here is the whole caliper assembly. So the assembly is actually made of two parts. You have the actual caliper itself, which has a piston that squeezes the brake pads against the rotor, and then you have the caliper bracket, and then on these guys, on this is these are actually the clips that hold the pads into the caliper bracket. Back here you got the slide pins, which are protected by a rubber boot, and then you have the bleed valve, and then you have the brake hose actually going to the caliper itself. Again, that's where the pistons are. So with any painting project, the time spent in the project is not the actual paint, it's the actual prep. And with any paint project, it all comes down to the quality of the finished job. It really revolves around the time spent in prep. So with that being said, what you really want to do is, before you start spraying the caliper cleaner, which is essentially just brake clean, what you want to do is you want to take your wire brushes, and essentially you're going to start scrubbing the caliper and the caliper bracket and everything else, and essentially getting all the heavy stuff off the components. Don't rely just on the brake clean, because again that is just a chemical. You are going to use some type of mechanical action to remove all the heavy stuff and to really get it clean. So again, so when you're using these aggressive brushes, really you want to stay away from the slide pins and the boots so you don't tear those and everything else. You know, pretty much you can really go everything else at it. You know, the brake clips are not, the pad clips are not going to come out or anything like that. Stay away from the rubber seal on the piston and everything else. So with that being said, why don't we go ahead and start cleaning this thing up and getting it ready for paint. Alright, so now that you spent all your time cleaning it with the wire brushes and the brake clean, what you want to do now is start masking stuff off. Even though we're going to be using a paintbrush to apply this, you know, neatness does count. It does pay to spend a little bit of time masking off now than trying to clean up your mistakes afterwards. So why don't we go ahead and do that now, and I'll show you what we use the aluminum foil and the tape for. Hey, it's Thanksgiving. We're cooking a turkey on the Cruze. Alright, so this is why I use the aluminum foil, because essentially you can mask everything up in about 2 minutes. The aluminum foil is very easy to conform over the surfaces. You can use it to tuck in strips to really get into those hard spots without using tape and everything else. And then you can really conform it to wrap around everything. You know, I got it around the bleeder and everything else. So there you go. That's one advantage of using the aluminum foil. You can have this thing masked off in about less than 5 minutes. So why don't we go ahead and grab the paint. We'll start mixing it up and start applying it. Alright, so now it's come to the time to actually apply some paint. So what you're going to do is open up the can, take the little stirring stick that's included in the kit, go ahead and stir it up, make sure you get all the solids off the bottom of the can, and start applying it. From what I can see so far, this paint looks pretty thin, so you know, just take your time and apply it in light, thin coats, and you know, do one coat, let it tack up for about between 5 and 10 minutes. Second coat, third coat, and so on and so forth. So why don't we go ahead and do that now, and we'll go to the next step. Alright, so we just finished the first coat. Getting pretty good coverage with it so far. No issues using the brush at all. It's thin enough where you can get in all the tight corners and get pretty much everywhere you need to be. So again, that is just the first coat. I'm going to let it tack up for about 5-10 minutes. I do have a fan running, so I'll help it dry a little bit quicker. But in 5 or 10 minutes, I'm going to let it tack up and then go after a second coat. So why don't we go ahead and do that now. Alright, so it's the next day. Third coat was applied. Came out pretty good. It's nice and dry. Again, you got pretty good coverage. So why don't we go ahead and put the wheels back on and show you the finished product, and we'll take it out of the garage and show it in the sunlight. Alright, so now that it's out in the sunlight, let's go take a look at the finished product. I think it came out pretty good. So the kit cost under 20 bucks. Pretty easy to do. Took all of an hour to do it. So again, it's one of those simple things that you can do to your car for not that much money. So in closing, if you like what you saw, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If this is the first time coming to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe. I would love to have you a member of the community. If there's any questions, thoughts, concerns, go ahead and leave them in the comments box, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And as always, thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye.